What did you get for your 200 meters freestyle?
Gold.
For 100 meters butterfly?
Gold.
For the women's 4 into 100 freestyle relay?
Another gold.
For 50 meters freestyle?
One more gold.
For the women's 4 into 200 meters freestyle relay?
One more gold. The heats of the event, I was sixth, and the time was also not so great. I was like 20 seconds off my personal best. I would have almost been out of the final. I couldn't believe that I'd cut down almost 8 seconds off my PB in that one final. Paris was very, very unexpected. I never thought I would make it. After I made it, it was like, it's like the world flipped upside down. Everything was just so different. You are now an Olympian, and that will never change. The stadium was huge. Like, this is a football stadium. I cry a lot after my event if it goes really badly. I agree it doesn't solve anything at all. It feels really bad, but I'm trying to cope up with it.
She went to the Olympics at 14. She won 9 golds at the National Games. The President of India gave her an award, and she still gets nervous before a race. This is Dinidhi on Mike and Magic. I'm Anand. Let's go. Hi Dinidhi, welcome to Mike and Magic.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So, a quick warm up. At the National Games 2025 in Uttarakhand, what was your 200 meters freestyle?
I won a gold in my 200 free. It's my main event, one of my favorite events, and I won a gold there. And I cut down a good amount of time from 2024 since
Yeah.
I wasn't improving that much because we had so many meets leading up to Paris Olympics. Over there, I cut down like a whole second,
Yeah.
which was a very big thing for me, especially since it was at the start of the year and we are all just kind of getting into training and none of us are really race ready. So I got a gold there. That was a very memorable gold medal for me.
So at the National Games 2025 in Uttarakhand,
Yeah.
what did you get for your 200 meters freestyle?
Gold.
For 100 meters butterfly?
Gold.
For the women's 4 into 100 freestyle relay?
Another gold.
For 50 meters freestyle?
One more gold.
For the women's 4 into 200 meters freestyle relay?
One more gold.
Wow, is there anything you're not good at?
I mean, obviously, I'm not good at everything, but at that meet, I won a lot of gold medals. It was also because I had trained really well for it. So I went in with the mindset to get the best female athlete. So my goal was to get as many gold as possible. But to answer your question, I wouldn't say I'm really great at everything. My strong suit would be, yeah, freestyle.
You broke your own national record there. What was your
Yeah.
timing?
2 or 3 early. I'm not very sure about the fractions. Yes, I broke the West Indian over there, and I really didn't expect it since I was having a plateau for my event for a very long time. Like for a whole year, I did not really cut down my time from 2:04 that I did in 2023. So to cut down by a whole second was extremely shocking. I remember my mother was crying in the background because she couldn't expect the time of 2:03. And that year, I mean, last year I cut down really well. I cut down 2 seconds from 2:04. I came down to a 2:02.8. So that was like the stepping stone to the thought process of trying to cut down more time in the future.
What went through your mind when you touched the wall?
I think when you win, you don't really think so much, especially in the process of the race. You just go for it. You don't really think about it. At the end, you feel so relieved. One half of the mind is like, wow, I'm done with this race. My body feels great. The other half of your mind is like, okay, maybe like the time was good and all that. I felt really happy about it. Obviously, wasn't super pleased with it because I have much bigger goals in my head. But to know that I cut down some time was a very proud and happy moment for me.
Out of all the gold medals, what was the most special one to you?
That's actually a good question. I don't know. I actually like all of them. Probably the 400 free. It's because the 400 wasn't an event that I used to do so often. I used to do it as like a plus one event just for fun, an extra event. And I trained hard for it, like really hard for it. And I didn't know what to expect, like completely zero. I was like, okay, if it goes well, if it doesn't go well. The heats of the event, I was sixth, and the time was also not so great. I was like 20 seconds off my personal best. I would have almost been out of the final. So I didn't really have the mindset to go and win. I was like, let's just go and finish the event. What's the worst that could happen? I couldn't believe that I'd cut down almost 8 seconds of my PB in that one final. And I was just thinking to myself, all that distance work that we had done leading up to the national games was totally worth it. And I felt fast, I felt powerful, and that was probably the most special um, medal that I got over there.
What gets you going?
I have a very big goal in my mind, obviously, to be one of the best Indian swimmers and one of the best in the world, ultimately. And just the thought of that every single day helps me stay motivated, helps me get up in the morning, especially on those cold days when you just don't want to get up from the bed. Especially then when you have the mindset and the discipline to keep going, I think that just gets you forward. There are so many days where I just don't feel motivated. Some days I just feel like staying in bed. Some days I feel like not going to the gym or not putting in 100% effort. But then those are the days that you have to. They're very important on those days. That's what separates you from the rest. So I believe that discipline really gets you forward, even if you don't feel like doing it most of the days.
Your inspiration is Katie Ledecky.
Yeah.
She said that her mother used to give her chocolate ice cream at 4:15 a.m. before her practice just to, motivate her. What
Yeah.
does your mom do for your nutrition?
I don't really follow an extremely strict diet like how the people on social media say that don't eat any sugar, high protein, high carbohydrate. Mine isn't exactly like that. There are times where I do eat a small piece of chocolate. It keeps me happy, it keeps me motivated to continue. But when it really counts, I do control on my food. I make sure that the proper nutrition is getting into my body, especially during that competition season. I would not eat any sugar for 3 months. 3 months, 4 months, I won't eat any sugar. My mother she's very creative in the kitchen. She makes a lot of different cuisines. I think it's also because my food is very generic. She tries to mix it up with different spices and different sauces so that I kind of like the food. And she always keeps something that's nutritious on the table every single day. There's always a protein, there's always a carbohydrate, there's always like at least two different type of veggies. It's always there on the table. We're not extremely strict about it, but we do have a healthy lifestyle at home. Both my mom and dad also eat quite healthy, so I feel like that is just more important at home.
And just for fun, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
I used to love chocolate. I think vanilla was my favorite. Was my favorite. It was because it was very simple, and I didn't really like any extravagant flavor. And especially Baskin Robbins or London Dairy and all those brands that you get around the Indian market. Nowadays, recently, I've been really addicted to anything cookies and cream, whether that's a chocolate bar, whether that's ice cream, whether that's Oreos or anything is cookies and cream related, I will happily gobble it up. So I think I would say cookies and cream.
Where do you train and study?
I train in Dolphin Aquatics in CSC. It's next to the airport. For school, I go through Kendriya Vidyalaya DRDO. It's in CV Raman Nagar. I don't really go to school that often. It's because our training center is next to the airport and the school is in the city. So it's quite difficult to commute in two different places back and forth. And it's 35 kilometers away. And you're just wasting time. You're not really doing anything. Plus, Bangalore traffic is horrible. So I kind of homeschool. So I do all my schooling at home. I have a maths tuition teacher, and my parents help me with science and English and stuff like that. Since they are both engineers and they're kind of in the field of science, math, and all the stuff, and computer. Since we have AI this year, so I only go to school for my exams. And the school is completely fine with it. I mean, they understand that it's really difficult to commute to two different places, and swimming is very physically demanding. It's not so easy to do a very big, like 5-6 kilometer practice in the morning and then go to school and then sit there for another 6 hours and then go back to the pool in the evening. That's not really possible. So the school has allowed me to do all my work at home, and they have been giving me the attendance and they have given me some internal marks so that I'll be able to pass 10th grade. So for that they're very supportive, and training also has been going quite well. Every single day trying to putting the 100% effort is the most important, and I have amazing teammates who help me out and push me to become much better every single day.
Is there a subject you're even naturally good at, despite all your swimming?
When I was a kid, I had I had to go to a speech therapist because I had like basically I was shy and I was very introverted, and I did not speak until I was like 3. Though I had a very high IQ for my age, so I was quite smart, at least up till the time I didn't really go into professional swimming. My grades dropped a bit. I mean, I used to get 100 and everything. I was like a centum kid who was like the topper in the class for every subject. I'm not really there, and I wouldn't say I'm really a natural at any subject. I'm quite decent at math. I used to be really good at science as well, and English literature and language I'm quite good at. I used to write a blog, so I have like a few competitions written and like in detail about what happened, what we did, and what were the experiences for each event. So I used to write a bit too. In terms of school, it is quite good. I wouldn't say I'm like so smart and I'm not really a natural in anything, but I feel like because I have that hard work and self motivation, I can kind of push myself to study even on when the time I don't really want to. So I would say math is quite okay. For me, there are times where I make really silly mistakes. I mean, I would say they're so bad, but otherwise, I would say math is quite good. I can get like above a 90, 95. Math is quite good for me.
Your mom is a former national level Coco player. Have you played it with her just for fun?
Again, when I was a kid, I was super shy. So my mom used to kind of make me try and do other sports, like just with the people in our community. So she used to make me play Coco. I'm not really good at other sports. To be a sportsman, you need to be like agile, fit, and you need something to get you going. I never had that for any other sport. I never liked Coco that much. It's because I don't like to run, and you have to keep running continuously, and you need to be strategic about where you go, where you stop. I didn't have that in me, and I never played with her. I just know that she used to do these. The only sport I have played with her like very casually was badminton, because we have a place like very close to our home, or we used to go time to time before swimming became so important in my life. Otherwise, no, I never really played Coco with her. But I knew she used to play a lot of different sports, not just Coco. I remember badminton to athletics to table tennis and a lot of other sports I remember she used to play. But I never played with her.
Have you always been so competitive from a young age?
Yeah, I was very competitive. I think in a way swimming has helped me dial down that competitiveness and made me much more humble. I used to be so competitive to the point where in my exams in second grade or first grade, I'm not very sure, I remember writing my exam the quickest possible, because I assumed that if you write it the quickest, you're first and you're like you won the exam, until I realized that you're supposed to like take your time and make sure you write the answers correctly and not like just finish it off. So I believe that after I started swimming, it kind of dialed down the competitiveness for me. So it kind of made me believe in the process and not really in the outcome. And it has helped me for many other aspects of life. So I'm not really as competitive as I used to be. But obviously, I have the desire to win. That's never there. That hunger is always going to stay there if you're a sportsman.
And how did you have that level of confidence at just 14?
Actually, now I realize that 14 was so young. At the time, I was like, wow, 14, I'm so old, I know everything in life. I really didn't know much. And I was just kind of wondrously, like, just around the place. I did not know what was happening, why I was going here, why I was going there. 2024, I went to so many different competitions. I went all over the world, 8 different countries. I raced in like Monaco, Barcelona, went to Singapore, Malaysia, then Philippines, for various international competitions. I also think the more you compete, the more confidence you get, and the more you get exposure to the people, you understand how to keep yourself composed, and to understand that okay, these are the people that you're going to go up against in the future. and to be prepared. Like, because I went to these many countries, I understood that, okay, these are the people that are there. These are some of the world's best. They're going to be my competitors one day. So getting exposed to them kind of helped my confidence. But obviously, you can't be overconfident. When I go into the race, I'm still nervous. I won't deny that. Though I might look kind of scary on the blocks, I'm still kind of panicking on the inside. But I feel like, as I have a psychologist, so he tells me that nerves are always good to have because it keeps you humble and make sure that you put in your 100% and not like, oh, I'm so great, I'm going to like beat the crap out of everybody. So I think it's kind of good to be nervous as well. But at 14, I was actually quite scared. I'm trying to work on that going forward. Obviously, I can see myself improving mentally going into any race. So I believe that I've gotten a lot more confident in the last like 2 years.
Walking into your first Olympic Games in Paris 2024, were you nervous?
Paris was very, very unexpected. I never thought I would make it because I remember when in 2021 during lockdown, Tokyo was happening. So I remember watching it on the TV and just thinking to myself that, okay, maybe one day I'm going to make it there. But I didn't think in the next 3 years. I thought it was going to be, okay, maybe the next 10 years, 10 years plus. I did not think that I was going to make it in 2024. Though I knew I had a shot, it wasn't completely impossible, but I just didn't take so much stress on it because I was still just 14. So I didn't really care whether I made it or I didn't make it. After I made it, it was like, it's like the world flipped upside down. Everything was just so different. You are now an Olympian, and that will never change. You'll always be an Olympian once you make your first Olympics. And that experience was out of this world amazing. Like, you got to meet the best in the world. Like, this is the best people they put their whole life into these games, like the Olympics and World Championships. So getting to compete with them was absolutely amazing. And I swam in the first heat, and I did quite well. I actually fallen sick a week before the meet, and I was like kind of not sure whether I was going to do well. I did quite well with 2:06. It was 2 seconds off my PB. For a morning swim, I was quite happy with it. My parents also traveled from India to Paris just to watch like my event for one day. So it was a very proud moment for all of us. And also, since I did not know what to expect from a big competition, the stadium was huge. Like, this is a football stadium, maybe even bigger than that. It could accommodate like 700 plus people. My mother was getting so scared. She was like, oh my God, how is my child going to race in this? I was extremely calm because I knew I had nothing to lose there. It was my first ever Olympics. I had done the Asian Games and World Championships before that, so I kind of knew what to expect. So I wasn't really that nervous. I think that kind of helped me go like a 2:06, and I think that experience was just so brilliant. I think that really helped me. It kind of changed me as a person going forward in 2025.
Who did you hang out with most at the Olympic Village?
Again, I was just 14, so I had to always be like with a guardian since I was too young to go anywhere alone the place. And it's a huge place. Like, how it is the village, and there's a bus that you reach the pool. Like, you cannot, if you take the wrong bus, you reach somewhere else. And English isn't their first language. For me, English is my first language. For the others, it isn't. So trying to communicate is also extremely difficult. I mean, Google Translate is a thing, but it's still extremely hard. It's not easy to communicate. So I was always with a guardian. So since Hari was my teammate, I was mostly with him all the time, which was actually really good. There were times where he came in clutch. It was great having him sometimes. Since we were with the Indian team, we didn't have to worry so much about my safety, since there were a lot of people there to take care of me. And yeah, mostly I was with Hari.
How much has your life changed since the Paris Olympics?
My life itself hasn't changed a lot, but my perspective towards it has. Like, I take in whatever is happening in a very different way. My life itself hasn't changed so much. Yes, I went to the Olympics, but I keep telling myself that it isn't really such a big deal. Yes, you went to one of the biggest games in the world, but that doesn't mean you are now one of the greatest in the world or you have to have so much headway. That's not how it is. My perspective kind of changed, but nothing else really changed in my life. My teammates treat me the exact same. My classmates don't even care that I became a very big swimmer. They just don't care. At the end, you're just one amongst them. You're also doing the same work. You're studying the exact same thing. So nothing really changed in my life. It's more or less the same.
You represented India through the universality quota. Can you explain what that means in simple words?
When we do a race, so there are competitions which, like for instance, what we do in India in senior nationals isn't a FINA approved event. So a FINA approved event is an event that is approved by the World Aquatics, which is the main federation in swimming. So a competition that is recognized by those federations, if you go compete there and you get a time, for instance, let's say I went to 204, that 204 will get a score out of 1,000. 1,000 is the world record. Approximately, some events are having 1,005, some are having 900 something, but around that range of 1,000 is the world record. Now, the score depends on how close you are to the world record in your respective event. So, somebody who does a 204, my FINA score will be, let's say, a 700, because I am that far away from the world record. I'm right now at a 760 for my 202. So, I am like, how much, 240 points away from the world record. So it depends on your respective event. So somebody can go in their respective event, their FINA score is different. So for me, the universality quota is where they take one boy and one girl from each country, if you haven't qualified via the A or B cut, who has the highest FINA score. So whoever is closest to the world record. For that, I was the closest to the world record in my 200 freestyle, so I got to go. That's how the universality quota works. So it's if you don't qualify. If you qualify, then you obviously get to go. No one else has a shot. But since nobody qualified in India yet, they had to take the universality quota, which is how, since I was the closest to the world record, it was actually very tight. There were two of us who were super tight. We were like 2 points apart, and getting like 1 point above is like cutting down like I think 0.08, 0.06, like to get a point above. So, I mean, that's not impossible. You can come up 2 points. So, it was very, very tight, but I was like extremely lucky that I got the chance to go. So, that's how the universality works.
What are you focusing on most right now in training?
In training, mostly for me, one of the biggest challenges in training for me is to just show up. To just show up to the pool and to just get in and put in the work is one of the most hardest things ever. Like people don't really appreciate that how athletes get up early in the morning, day in and day out, just to come and train. And it's so repetitive, especially swimming, just looking at the black lane the entire time and going back and forth across the 50-meter pool. And especially for me, I mostly do freestyle. So that's even more boring. You don't get to change the stroke. It's just extremely repetitive. So for me, just kind of showing up is one of the biggest goals, and putting in 100%. And in terms of my technique, there's like lot of small things that I need to work on. So just trying to think about the little things in between the sets is very important. So I just try to work on those, and mostly the basic stuff like keeping a continuous kick and making sure your head position is right and not wobbling all over the place, so that you are more streamlined and create less drag. Those are probably the most important things. And then the smaller details are stuff that like you personally, that somebody has to check and tell you so that you work on it, and that somebody else can guide you through those smaller stuff. I mean, the bigger aspects of it are obviously like very easily in our control, but the smaller things are quite difficult for us to know and for us to really feel and understand how it works. So somebody has to be there to watch you so that they can help for corrections. So that's how I go into training every day.
One weakness you're currently working hard to improve?
I wouldn't say anything is like a weakness. I have a lot of things to improve on though. Everything from my freestyle technique to my turns to underwater, I wouldn't say they are weaknesses as such. I don't really try to take it that way. I try to take it in a way as there is scope for improvement. A weakness is kind of it kind of pulls you down, whereas trying to take it in a different perspective on ways to improve the thing so that you get faster, at least keeps me motivated to try and improve it. And there are a lot of things you can improve on. Even your head position, which is so simple, but changing it a little bit, and even your entry. Some people say that if you enter in straight, even changing the angle of how you enter can be the difference between gold and silver, like just this much. So they're so small, but yet so important that it is important to know your mistakes and important to work on them. So I have a lot of mistakes and I'm trying to work on them every single day, taking small things like small chunks of mistakes and trying to work on them over a week so that I don't get overwhelmed with so many things and like just mess up everything. So every day I go into practice with like a mindset to try and focus on one thing at a time so that I improve it over a period of time.
After swimming, I'm always starving. Is that the same for
Yeah,
you?
that's the same for everybody. Everybody feels hungry and it's so physically demanding. I mean, obviously you'll feel super hungry. That means you worked hard. So I always think that me being hungry is always a good thing. And I'm a type of person who I really like food. My mom also really loves food. So I really like how I eat is that every 2 hours I need some food. Like every every 2 hours I have to eat something. So I think that's how it is, and everybody's hungry all the time after practice.
What's your go-to-go meal after swimming?
After swimming, for me, nutrition is the most important thing. We have whey protein, it's like a fast digesting protein, so it helps us to repair our muscles immediately after a hard workout with a light carbohydrate, basically sugar, so that it acts on the muscles much more quickly. That's the go to you need in terms of nutrition wise. It's the best thing to take before, like just immediately after a workout because it helps repair the muscle. That's the first thing you have to do because you need to get up the next day and make sure they're 100% ready to push for the next workout. So that's mostly my go-to. If I had an option to say what I would like to eat after practice, I would say hot chocolate. That's also a good option to have hot chocolate, but it's just it has some sugar, like not the carbohydrate sugar, but like the refined sugar. So it isn't the best option, but it's also a good option if like somebody had like kind of a easier workout and you would like to take something sweet. Sometimes I'll take hot chocolate, so that would these two would probably be my go-to for after a practice.
What are your techniques for swimming faster? Is it how you start or about the hips or elbows or efficient breathing patterns? I would love to get some tips from you.
That's extremely technical. Again, each person is very different. Each person has their own set of things to work on. Like for me, I don't have a great range of motion. My range of motion is not that great because I'm not really that athletic. So for me, being able to rotate, especially my stroke freestyle, you're supposed to be able to rotate and grab more water in the front, which I can't really, mine isn't that great. So I try to work on that. Um, and there are a lot of aspects. I try to look at many Olympians swim their races and try to learn something from them. And each person is super different. But as I said, there are like a few key things that are important for most swimmers to do in everything. So I believe that just trying to find what your mistakes are and getting help and trying to fix those is what is going to really help you. Because each person swims differently. Not everybody is going to swim the same freestyle. Like my freestyle is with like a semi bent straight arm. That's not what is generally said by people. People say to bend your arm. But for me, that works. So for me, my technique's kind of different. So I need to find mistakes in my own technique and try to work on them. Like I cannot say that this whatever I'm gonna learn is gonna be work the same for somebody else or somebody older, somebody younger who has bigger muscles or smaller muscles. It's very different. So it's good to know your mistakes and flaws and try to work on them every day.
How exciting was it for you and your family to receive the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar Award? When I watched your interview, I noticed how humble you were. Can you
Hmm.
comment?
Again, that award was also it was a very surprising award since we had applied last year after the Olympics. But then I hadn't gotten any call, and we just assumed that okay, maybe the kids who have much greater awards, and they probably are the ones who deserve to get the award. So we didn't really think too much about it. This year, we didn't exactly apply for it, but somebody else has applied for us. So we're not exactly sure how that happened. So we got the call, like it was very last minute though. We got the call. My mom was ecstatic. I didn't really understand the value of the award. I didn't really understand that this was so big and that some of the, it's a very big government recognized award for kids. I didn't really understand that. So it took me some time to process how big the award was. When I got the award and received it, is when I realized, wow, this is extremely big. There were kids from various other fields that were extremely brilliant in their own field. I mean, from sport to science and technology, to social services, life saving, and all that. I mean, it is amazing to know that there were some kids who were so small who were able to do so well. So being part of that was absolutely incredible.
You won a lot, but sport isn't always about winning.
Hmm.
If things don't go your way, how do you cope with losing?
I have the desire to always win. It's not that it hasn't changed at all, it's just a bit less. I always want to win. I don't like losing. I won way too much as a kid that it's a bit more difficult for me now at 15 to cope up with losing. I remember for 2-3 years straight, it was like me just winning golds. I will just go to a meet and come back with a gold medal. I never really lost. And even if I did lose, it was always to somebody who was older, not to like people older, meaning like much older, not somebody who was around the same age. So coping up with losing is extremely difficult. But I'm trying to work on it every day, trying to tell myself that this is part of the process and there are always going to be ups and downs. You can't just expect to win every single time, but it's extremely difficult. It's not so easy if you're so hungry and so desperate to win that medal and you put in so much effort towards it and you don't get the result you want. It's sometimes really heartbreaking. I cry a lot after my event if it goes really badly. People say that, oh, like, why cry? What's going to solve? I agree, it doesn't solve anything at all. But I think people should get that if you put in your heart and soul effort into that race, you're obviously going to feel so gutted that for me, I cry way too much because I feel heartbroken after that. If you don't win and don't get the result you want after putting in everything, it feels really bad. But I'm trying to cope up with it. Again, I have a psychologist who is really helping me out. His name is Shri Advani. He's Pankaj Advani's older brother. He really helps me out, going for sessions and making sure that I am 100% race ready and ready for everyday training, because that too is very important. It's not just how you're mentally prepared for the race, it's also how mentally prepared you are for your training every single day. You cannot go in with a bad mood. So I always try and make sure that I stay positive about it. And I keep telling myself that whatever it is, whatever is happening now is always for a good reason. Whether it can be like 10 years down the line or it can be for tomorrow. We never know. But it's always good to know that whatever is happening, it's happening for some reason. It might be good, might be bad, but they are happening and you can't really change much about it. So I try to stay positive about it even after the losing, because I have a very big goal. And if you have to achieve it, you have to keep going. You can't just dwell on one bad moment.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
your time.
thank you.
Thank you. Alright, so I just spent the last half an hour with an Olympian, a national record holder, and a presidential award winner. And she's my age. I need to seriously rethink what I'm doing with my life. Dinidi, you're amazing. This was Mike and Magic with Manan. See you next time.